Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello and welcome to the MotUS Edge. I am Stacy Rowe here with Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are excited to chat with you today about maximizing your space inside of your facility. Cole?
Me? Oh, sorry. It's been a morning, guys. Honestly, when I think of maximizing your space throughout, Premier's history specifically, I feel like we probably, if you added all the different locations that and facilities that we've actually been in, probably 45 to 50 locations. And one thing I've learned over the years is definitely bigger is not better. And our staff on the Premier level will probably, tired of hearing me say it. It's like, guys, look, when supply out or when demand outweighs supply, what do? Raise prices. That's not a blanket statement to everyone, but everyone wants to eat at the restaurant that nobody can get a reservation at. So the answer to being a crowded space is really to try to look hard at how you can utilize your existing space better, how you can schedule throughout the week and do that a little bit better. It's not always hey, I want to go from a 10,000 square foot gym to a 25,000 square foot gym, because every single time I've seen people do that, they really underestimate the amount of expense associated with that. So luckily we have one of the best ever at it. Like we've talked about in previous podcasts, Stacy and I, grew up together within Premier. I was in Knoxville. She was in tiny little Clayton, North Carolina, and she had a 6,000 square foot facility. I had a 27,000 square foot facility. But to be honest, is for several years, Stacy was actually creating more profit. I think she was running something, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but, she had close to 400 total cheer and dance all-stars, over 1,000 kids in classes, preschool inside of the gym, dance classes inside of the gym, summer camps, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we could all learn a lot from Stacy. Is like, how in the world did you do that in 6,000 square feet?
Yeah, so it was 7,700 square feet. Okay, just full transparency. Yeah. We gotta have that additional 1,700 square feet. So a couple things that I think are important to know before I get into the nitty gritty of how I did that. Just some mistakes I feel like we made along the way in all of our facilities. So number one, make sure that you have a bathroom that the public can access without having to go through the facility, or if it's in the facility, they don't have to walk really through the gym to get to the bathroom. So that is something that I know that we really did not like about our location. Parents had to come in and walk across the spring floor if they had to go to the bathroom, or siblings or whatever. So make sure you have a bathroom that's accessible everywhere. If you have one inside the gym, that's for the athletes, great, but then have one outside in the area, where the parent viewing is and all that stuff. Also, and I feel like several people have made this mistake, but you don't want your rod floor or your tumble track or something like that to be the first immediate thing right when you walk inside of the facility. You want to have people to walk over a tumble track or a trampoline to get to the rest of the space. We've all been there, done that, or a vault runway if you have gymnastics, something along those lines. I'm not really sure how those things happen, but they do. So anyway, as far as space utilization, man, you were right. We had 400 all-stars, 28 teams, and it was 600 class kids, so a little less class kids than you said, operating out of that 7,700 square feet. And I got really creative and good at crafting every single hour of the day. So we had a lot of classes. People tend to start their schedule. Classes start at the top of the hour, right? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. Well, it got to the point where our little lobby space was only so big, and you couldn't even move in there with classes trying to come in and classes trying to go out. It was literally like, waiting in line for a Cabbage Patch doll back in the day, in the 80s. Right. And so, so I started to stagger classes 15 minutes. So a class would start at 5, but then the next class would start at 5:15 or 5:30, so that everything was kind of starting off of the hour. So instead of having 5 classes start, at 5 o'clock, I'd have a class start at 5, a class start at 5:10, a class start at 5:15, one at 5:30, one at 5:45, one at 6 o'clock, just so that the flow of traffic, because we couldn't get people in. So that was the first thing that I did. And then it still was crowded and we still had more kids and, that kind of thing. And so, nobody ever got a full floor for their team. Could you imagine, Casey? I know. I mean, would your coaches, they would form a coup. Would they not?
We did that in the early days, but like the coaches now don't understand. They don't have their 9 strips, man. Practice.
I know it. And my coaches would complain all the time, but I would make sure amongst all the practice time that everybody had at least 60 minutes on a full floor. And that was all that you would get. You'd have 60 minutes on a full floor. And, that was it. But everybody got an equal amount of 60 minutes. And so you had to run your practice time accordingly. Otherwise you were sharing a floor, or there would be a class on you'd be sharing floors with teams, or you'd have a class going on, while there was a practice happening, that kind of thing. I got super creative even and required that my coaches do video review. And so this was back in the early 2000s when it wasn't as convenient. You didn't have an iPhone that you could share to your TV. So we would use this thing I got. I think it was called a Flip.
Yeah, I remember the Flip.
And okay, like a Flip video recorder or something. I don't know, but you could just literally plug it right into the TV. And so I bought one of those, or so I think we had 2 or 3 of those. And the coaches were required to video their practice. And then for the last 15 minutes, the whole team would go upstairs. We created a video review area in the viewing deck upstairs, and teams would go upstairs. So that would take, at the time, sometimes 30 bodies, because the team sizes were much larger back then, 30 bodies out of the gym upstairs for 15 minutes, which would then allow more people to come inside of the gym. And so this is kind of how my brain works for time management too, by the way. So not just space, but time management. It's like you got to carve out so then that still wasn't enough. So then we took bars and we hung chin-up bars, 8 of them on the wall, because 8 participants were in a class. So our class numbers were 8 kids at a time. So we took 8 chin-up, we had 8 chin-up bars. We bolted those to the walls, and every class instructor was required to spend 10 minutes doing conditioning and exercises so that 8 class bodies would be hanging on the wall instead of taking up space on the floor. And they would have to do, chin-ups or leg lifts or whatever, but we would have staff meetings and I would teach them and train them. And I know this is funny because I remember Ace from the Premier Athletics in Murfreesboro, his location was really crowded. And I remember telling him all of these stories. And so they took carpet bonded foam and wrapped it around this big pole that they had. And they made up a series of drills that they would have their kids do on this particular 2 foot by 2 foot square pole. Then we got crafty and we put carpet bonded foam mats on the walls, and we would have handstand walls, and we would make classes have a certain amount of time where they had to do handstand drills on the wall. So you could fit, a class on the tiny little spring strip that we had shared with the tumble track of 8 kids. You could fit 8 kids on the wall. You could fit 8 kids on the, 8 kids on the chin up wall, 8 kids on the handstand wall, a team on the floor, a team upstairs watching the video review. Yeah. And anyway, so I got really creative. So it's, those are some different things that you can do. If there's a will, there's a way. Everybody's space is different, but you gotta look at your space and get crafty and figure out, what are ways to do that. And there was a lot of planning and a lot of discussion and staff meetings to make all of that happen. So that is how we got creative and maximized the space inside of our facility.
I bet you had a lot of holes in the sheetrock, didn't you?
We did, but we covered those up with the carpet bonded foam, so it was all good.
Yeah, same. Early days, we were doing some of the exact same things. We used to stop. We would stop an all-star practice for the kids in tumbling class to be able to get a corner pass, which would never happen in our gym today. But back in the day, it's like, hold up.
Yeah, our class kids, they didn't get a corner pass. We used to train our coaches to tell them that they were stronger and better if they could learn how to do everything out of a power hurdle or two-step round off. And that was it, because that's all the space that we had. And we were like, if you get a corner, well, then you're good to go. You don't want to learn on the corner. Oh yeah, we had all kinds of trips. Which really that's true, And then I kind of took that, Cole, I feel like, to Premier later on with all of our gyms and taught them like cost analysis and how much space inside of their facility, like the spring floor, and how much what you're using that particular area of your space for, and what program that is, and how much revenue that's bringing in versus how much expense that particular like area of the gym is spending. And so we took everybody in Premier through an exercise and broke that down with their preschool program and their tumbling class program and their gymnastics program, team program, and all, like, allocated all the space to it and had a spreadsheet. And so everybody
and I'd really recommend, everyone to go through that process. Of something I was going to bring up is we've got that cost analysis form in the MotUS Vault that's available to all MotUS members. But a lot of times people will make decisions of what gets priority inside of the gym, but that may or may not be your most profitable, revenue stream that you've got coming in. So really look at that. It's different in every gym. It's based off what you're charging per athlete, how many hours they're getting to utilize the space during the week. But it may open your mind to doing things a little bit differently.
No, I agree. And it's a delicate balance, right? You got to have your teams, your flagship team. You have to, that's your product that you're showing out to the world, right? So, it's a delicate balance for sure. And I forgot, you mentioned dance. So here's a whole other funny. So my coaches used to love this because we were talking, I think, on our last podcast about our world. Casey and I were comparing our world championships, and I listed mine out very diligently, and he can't remember his because he has so many, right? I can count mine on one hand. But in that is dance. And so I coached, the high level cheer teams and the high level dance teams. And I was a pretty tough, strict coach. Like, I had high expectations, and I was really tough. But then we also taught, like you said, preschool classes. We also taught preschool dance classes, and I was the preschool dance teacher. And so my coaches and my athletes would crack up because I was like a different person when I was teaching the preschool dance classes. But the funny about this story is if any of our listeners have, put your kids in preschool dance, or you have preschool dance is ballet and tap. That's what preschool dance is. So how are you going to tap in a cheerleading gym on a spring floor? Well, you're going to get 5 foot by 5 foot sheets of wood that you're going to lean up against the wall. And when preschool dance time comes and we're going to do tap and ballet, we just pull down the 5 by 5 sheets of wood, and the kids come over and they put on their tap shoes, and we teach them tap on their little 5 by 5 sheet of wood. So, so that was how I taught dance class and taught.
I used to bust out my cardboard boxes back in my breakdancing days, so I can kind of relate. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. That's so funny. Speaking of dance, Stage 8 Dance Brands is one of our sister brands that I had the absolute pleasure to help Cheryl Passalacqua, the owner of Stage 8 Dance Brands. I had the pleasure of helping her start that brand. It's very near and dear to my heart. Stage 8 Dance Brands will give your dancers the best competition experience when they attend a Stage 8 Dance Brands event. Stage 8 Dance Brands is by dancers for dancers, and Cheryl prides herself on that, making it an experience just for dancers. Don't miss your chance to attend Stage 8 Dance Nationals in Orlando, Florida. It's an awesome way to end your season. For more information, go to stage8dancebrands.com. That's stage8dancebrands.com. STAGE, the number 8, dancebrands.com.
Awesome.
I love Stage 8. I love Stage 8 Dance Brands. I love the dance battle. It's one of my favorite events. And I totally wish that my dancers had the opportunity to be in the battle back in the day. It was pretty awesome event.
Casey, Kevin and I went to it 2 years ago, I believe. And, obviously I've been to several Stage 8 events, but I think that's the first big dance event that Casey and Kevin had been to. And I feel like you guys were both super impressed. It's really the coolest 2 hours I've ever seen in dance. It reminds me of back in the day when Worlds used to be in Epcot, and it was a smaller venue, and it was like back to back to back to back of the best teams in dance that year. And now Stage 8's really captured that, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience watching that. I enjoyed it. Not part of my typical world, but it was very enjoyable and awesome to watch and a great experience.
Speaking of, Stage 8 is an affiliate of MotUS, and obviously we are all part of MotUS. So Casey and Kevin, tell our listeners, what's your favorite thing about being a part of MotUS?
My favorite thing is just the community of like-minded gym owners. I love the cheerleading business, and I love to talk shop. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time, and that's always been one of my favorite things to do is to talk to other gym owners. I remember early on in the business, I was doing choreography, not well, but I was doing it. That's why I stopped doing that. But I would literally travel to gyms all over the country, and I made a point to try to identify things that they did better than us. And there were a lot of great gyms and a lot of great things I saw. And then there were some that honestly weren't so great. However, they would all do something better than what we did. So to be able to take that information back to my own gym was huge. So I feel like that's really what MotUS is created for. I mean, obviously we want to grow participation and we want to grow the profits within the gym. But how do you do that? And it's by talking to other gym owners and sharing ideas and sharing principles and philosophies on how to grow what we're doing. And the reality is, I think that cheerleading has come a long way. And when we first got started, everybody was kind of against each other. There'd be some great ideas, but those would be torn down or ruined on a Sunday afternoon because we were competing against each other. Well, I think now, especially post-COVID, we've all realized that we're on the same team. We're all trying to do the same thing, and is to provide a great experience for all-star athletes. So to me, that's my favorite thing. It's just networking with the other gym owners and continuing to grow and learn from one another.
Don't tell anybody, but I agree with Casey.
No way.
Yeah, way. I think all the years that I did cheer sport, my favorite part of that was talking to gym owners and coaches before they come to Atlanta about their program, about their teams. And, I've visited with 1,100 gyms in my sales career with cheer sport and varsity in those days, and how many places that I'd visited. And my favorite part of that was helping gyms with just trying to gain some business knowledge to try to be able to grow their class program too. Why don't you do birthday parties? How come you don't have a preschool program? Why are you only doing, how come you don't have any school teams? Why is your tumbling classes not growing? All those things that help gyms make money. I think MotUS is a big part of helping gyms grow and make more money. Money is not an evil. If it's your number one priority, I think it is, but there's some good things that come from that. And so trying to be able to help gym owners be better. I think after COVID, I was surprised how many gyms closed down because they didn't have the biggest business acronym to be able to stay open and keep doing what they love. And so part of that for me is being able to talk to gym owners. There's so many things in the vault and so many things that we have in daily conversations that just seem normal to us. I'm always amazed at a gym owner that feels like they're on an island and doing this by themselves. I'm like, there's so much, just being candid, there's so much stuff in the vault. I haven't even seen everything that's in the vault. And I'm amazed at how many people are not using the vault. And, I heard a gym owner tell me once is that I'm so busy, I don't have time to die. And there's some truth to that. I mean, gym owners are so engulfed and so just so swamped in every direction, from being the janitor to the babysitter to the banker to all the things of what a gym owner does, and encompassing some staff that giving them some empowerment to be able to make mistakes and learn and go to the vault and read things and find things to be able to help your business grow I think is just really important for gym owners to not have to do everything, do what they're good at, and do what that's important to them, and try to find people that'll help them make their business better.
No, I think you make a great point, Kevin. And I remember my accountant early on in the early days was just like, hey, do the things that you're good at, and then try to hire the people to do the things that you're not good at.
That's right.
And unfortunately, when you're just getting started, you may not have the money to hire those folks. So,
right.
Yeah, and I'll just I also agree with Casey. And one of the things that he said in there, that one of the things that I like most about MotUS is the willingness of gym owners to share ideas and resources with each other, and everyone, buying in to the concept of a gym-led community and what we can really do to work together to make it better for the parents, for the athletes, for the coaches, for the gym owners, for all the vendors in the industry, for everyone, is really, we all love it. And we really are, I feel like we're on to something really great. It's not just because of us four, it's because us four, the 20 affiliate members, the 200 gyms that have bought in, hopefully the next 200 gyms that have bought in. And then, really, like I've said over and over again, is the sky's the limit. I feel like we can do something really special.
Right.
Yeah, I think MotUS is great, and it's just been such an awesome. It's turned into a passion for the four of us. So, if you're not part of MotUS, or if you want to become part of MotUS, MotUS is a community of gym owners working together to help each other.
Call me.
As a member of MotUS, you get access to your gym owner's vault, which includes templates for every aspect of your business. We continue to add new resources constantly. In addition, you're added to our private VIP owners Facebook group, as well as the opportunity to join monthly webinars geared towards gym owners. You also receive amazing discounts from our affiliate members, the Cheer Expo, Choice Events, All Out Brands, TSN and Infinity, Vault Events Media, Cheer Sounds, Bookshop Fundraising, and much, much more. So join the movement today at www.joinmotus.com. Once again, that's www.joinmotus.com. So we'd love to have you. If you want more information, you can reach out to any of us. Kevin is definitely our head sales guy, but like I said, I love to talk shop. So anytime you guys want to do that, I am a phone call away. And I am going to tell you a little dad joke right now, because since I am the senior dad here of 5 children. So, can a kangaroo jump higher than the Empire State Building?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Of course it can. Buildings can't jump, silly.
Ba-dum-bum.
Oh, that is a dad joke.
I'm full of them. And I've been telling a lot of the same ones for 20 years. So.
There you go.
Oh, Cole and I just humor
awesome.
Kevin and Casey with their dad jokes because they think they're funny. But
I'll do the next one. Mine are better than Casey's.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so next we're going to do a little Q&A, our first Q&A. So let's see what questions we've had from our listeners so far.
All right.
Hey, real quick, did you hit record on this? Are we recording?
We are recording. Yep.
Okay.
Good thing. We're in really long time. Kevin is picking.
I don't see a button. Is there a record? Is there somewhere?
I have it. You don't have it.
That little countdown at the beginning, Kevin. That's a dead giveaway that it's recording.
Oh, I thought that was just one. Okay, that makes sense. I thought.
But for everybody listening, Kevin's giving me a hard time because we do a lot of webinars on Zoom, and I almost always forget to record. So, there's that.
Just the important webinars.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys know that whenever you talk on this, you get highlighted? Mine's in blue. So it shows like a blue trim every time you start talking.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you know that?
I see that.
Yeah. I see it.
I just noticed it. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty crazy. All right. So let's go into our questions. Our first question is from Liz in California. She wants to know, how do I keep my daughter motivated? She seems to be losing her joy. Who wants to take that one?
Is there a coach, Casey?
I'll jump into that one. I don't know. This question can go 100 different ways, but I think the biggest mistake I see that parents make with their kids, and I've certainly done it, is when you want it more than they do. When you're really pushing them and you're forcing them to do something. The reality, I believe in any sport, there's going to be an ebb and flow and an up and down. We actually even say this in our parent meetings, at our gym. There are times where kids will come and like, hey, I think I want to quit, and you've got to oftentimes just encourage them and allow this a natural progression of the sport to kind of take its course without letting them quit. And that goes for any sport, whether it's football or baseball or cheerleading, and just to really encourage your kid to keep going without being overbearing. I think that what happens is when kids start to suffer from a little bit of burnout, then parents want to up what they're doing. Hey, she's thinking about quitting, so let's add this, or let's add a private lesson, or let's add this other thing. And then that just makes it worse. And to me, those are a lot of things that can lead to burnout, mental blocks, different things like that. So I'd just say overall, encouraging the kid, maybe back off, take some time outside of the gym, because oftentimes this just holds true in everything. We don't understand how we miss something until it's not there as much. So oftentimes when I'm struggling with it, if I back away from it and then I realize, hey, I really do love to be there. And this is my spot, and these are my people. But the best way to realize that sometimes by backing off and taking a little time away.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that helps you out there, Liz. That's some good advice from Casey. All right, let's see. We have our next question from Oliver in Florida. I am coaching tinies and I'm struggling to keep their attention. Do you have any tips to help keep them on task? Cole, when's the last time you coached tinies?
It's been a minute. It's been a long minute.
So I'm guessing you're probably not the best to answer that question.
Kevin may be better answering that question.
I don't know if I've ever coached tinies. I did some preschool classes when I was younger, and those kids are probably all in therapy. So, but I do have 4 tiny teams at Charlotte All-Stars. My daughter Sky is an amazing tiny coach. I've watched her. I think one of the biggest things is the excitement level from the coach of what they're portraying, especially at that age, and the energy that they bring and the excitement and the love that they bring is a huge part of the success of that age, especially a tiny team. And I think for as far as, attention spans, if you're doing things more than 5 or 6 minutes at a time, you're just really going to struggle with that age. And the more different things that you can do with the more positivity that you can do, the more encouragement and attaboys. And if they can win a piece of candy or they can win
treasure
something
box.
Fun. Yes. All those things make it where it's exciting. Our tiny practices are about an hour and 15 minutes long. We do a little bit more than a class, which is an hour, but I know they're action packed and exciting, and they're doing literally 20 different things for 4, 5, 6 minutes at a time throughout their whole practice. Now they might do, the same dance 3 different times, but they don't do it for 18 minutes in a row. They'll do it for 5 minutes, and then they'll go on to something else. And then they'll do the dance leading into their ending pose or whatever it is. But I know the biggest thing is the energy level of what the coaches are teaching, the excitement level they have, the smile, and what they're bringing to practice is a big part of that excitement and making it fun for those kids.
Tinies, they're exhausting. They do require a whole lot of energy.
Yes.
So you need to make sure that you bring the energy for sure. All right, let's see. Our last question that we're going to take is from James in New Jersey. Whoop, whoop, a fellow Jerseyan. He says, how often do you recommend doing staff meetings?
Well, I'll take that one since Casey and Kevin took the first 2. I think it depends on the size of your gym. But I think if you've got multiple programs, say you've got a gymnastics program, a class program, a preschool program, an all-star program, a competitive dance program, which we've got in some of our gyms, I think those individual programs should meet at least once a week, even if it's just a 10 to 15-minute meeting, just to touch base and, hey, here's what's going on this week. Anyone have any questions? Anyone need anything? Just to keep the ball, moving forward. Then I really, really believe you should have a once a month mandatory staff meeting in person. The best time, in my opinion, to do them is Wednesday night at 9:00. I know it's Wednesdays are hard for everybody, but it's also, it's in the middle of the week, a time that people can come in. I've seen people try to do them on the weekends. Those seem to be really tough. So Wednesdays night, 9:00, everyone come, have your entire staff there. As the leader of that meeting, have an agenda, spend some time on it, and it'll save you so many headaches going forward. And it leads me to a quote from Queen Elizabeth II. It's often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And I've seen that happen over and over in the course of business and the different, different businesses that we've started. Is that, sometimes some of the best ideas come out of one of those 10-minute staff meetings. And, if the manager's there and the leader of the program's there and they're all on board, but then they don't share it at the larger staff meeting and the rest of the gym doesn't understand that, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is a shift that we're making. This is going to make us all better. It's going to make our product, our service better to the parents and the athletes who ultimately are our customers. But communication, is really the key, to me. And I feel that, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but it's still in management, is if you don't set the expectation and clearly let your employees and your staff members know, what the expectation is, then how are they supposed to know what you want to do? So, it's I think communication is really key. So, I would recommend doing it once a week with every program and the entire staff once a month.
I agree. I think if you have different directors in your facility too, like having a meeting with them once a week as well to help them lead their departments is super important. And for the staff meetings at night, Cole, I know one of the biggest struggles that a lot of gyms have is getting everybody there. I don't work on Wednesday night. I don't want to come to the staff meeting. So, just to throw out there another suggestion is, I think in person is always better, but you could also open it up for people who are not physically in the building, that they could get on Zoom, so that you can, just have more opportunity to get everybody there and participate. I feel like I've been back and forth with this over the years and what is the right thing to do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everybody's getting the information, right? So if you have to bend a little bit and do Zoom and you have that linked up to a TV in the facility, we have the technology to do that now today. And you can make that an option instead of forcing the person to come in and maybe they don't show up. I don't know. That's up to each individual person.
That's another point that I wanted to make too, which, is a lot of people have asked us this over the years, is that, for staff meetings, I would pay them and feed them. It's worth that hour of pay. It does cost you a little bit of money, but the on the back end, the benefits that your facility should receive by having those meetings, far outweighs the expense of that 1 hour.
I agree.
Totally agree with that. We start every staff meeting with food.
Yeah.
Everything's better with food.
Yes.
Kevin, I feel like is always talking about food.
One other thing, I think that you kind of went over this, but having an agenda, and just recognizing everyone's time. Don't meet just to meet, and if you have an agenda and follow that, and as cheerleaders and artists, we often get off topic, but, we used to be really bad about not having an agenda, and these meetings would run 2 hours, and it would be 11 or 11:30 at night before we're walking out of the gym. So I think having a set agenda and cut that meeting off at about 45 minutes and maybe an hour at the most, and then people appreciate that, and then they don't dread coming to the meetings.
I agree. We know that you guys all have lots of questions out there, so please don't feel free, or please don't hesitate. Feel free to send us a direct message to @JoinMotUS on Facebook or Instagram, and we will answer your question on future podcasts. We want to hear from you. We know that there are amazing gym owners out there. There are some incredibly talented all-star cheerleaders who have become adults and opened up different businesses. We'd love to have you on our show. Submissions for the MotUS Edge podcast are open. Click on the podcast tab at www.joinmotus.com. That's www.joinmotus.com and select Be Our Guest. Go to the podcast tab on joinmotus.com, click podcast, be our guest and fill out the form. We'd love to have you. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you guys so much for listening today. We'll see you back in next week. Thank you. We're excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.